Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of our Business Unusual series. So the Business Unusual series is a series that we set up to interview 8 Black entrepreneurs who are doing amazing work in future industries. So before we officially begin, I want to first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet. I'm on the Wurundjeri land of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So first up in our Business Unusual series is the lovely duo, Bedi and Lorna of DivTal. Welcome, Bedi. Welcome, Lorna. It's so good to have you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Well, we're very, very excited and very, very proud as well of all the achievements that you've done to date. I mean, we are so proud of how you have been able to, to develop your idea into full-blown business, and now you're committing to it. And it's, you're coming to your 1-year anniversary after officially launching. How does that feel for you guys?
You're very amazing. Exciting. Yeah, it's just hard to believe it's already been a year. It feels like it was only yesterday that we started this journey, but yeah, it's nice to look back and reflect on the journey that it's been a whole year ago.
That is so true, indeed. And so, well, people would want to know, who is Bedi and Lorna? We'll start off with you, Bedi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bedi Othow, so one half of DivTal. So a bit about me. I'm full-time HR professional. I wear a few hats. So full-time, I say HR professional. I have a 9-to-5 job, have been working in HR for over 10 years. And part-time, very proud co-founder of DivTal. And I also have another side hustle, a new one, where I'm also a very proud new model representing a completely new look in Australia. So I'm also proud of that. So yeah, I wear many different hats, but I guess the 2 things that get me out of bed are definitely DivTal and the work that I do full-time as a HR professional. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing, and congratulations on being a model. Really excited to see the photos coming out. And how about yourself, Lorna? Who is Lorna?
Yeah, well, it's hard to beat that introduction. Bedi is literally a woman that does everything. So I'm Lorna Deng. I'm the second half of DivTal. I'm South Sudanese Australian. I'm a proud refugee. In my day-to-day work, I also work in HR. I've been working in HR for the past 7 years, and I grew up in Melbourne, and I've just relocated to the UK to continue to build a career and get some global experience. So yeah, that's me.
That's amazing, and what a brave time to be able to travel and relocate to a different country, during these uncertain times. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I think the theme of the day, Charmaine, is courage.
I know. Courage indeed.
Courage to start a business during COVID, courage to move to London, just courage overall.
Amen to that. So tell us more about DivTal. What is DivTal?
Yeah, so DivTal is an online job platform and a job board that connects inclusive employers to Black, Indigenous people of color who are trying to kickstart their careers and really find an inclusive place to work. So we do that through our job board, but we also support employers in terms of making sure that they are finding the right ways to be able to support all of their BIPOC talent. So we do that through training and consulting. And in the future, we'll be doing that through webinars and allowing them to connect to all of you. But also a lot of what we do is definitely supporting all of our Black, Indigenous people of color when they are going through the job readiness process. And we do that through helping you with anything that you need. So understanding that everyone's journey is very different. Whether that's you're looking to, get help with a resume or just even understanding the recruitment process and or all the way to being in an interview or even knowing what your rights are when you start working. So we really try and support as much as we can. We do a lot of that through the fact that we are HR professionals, and together we have probably over, I'd say, now nearly 15 years of HR experience combined, and we really try to utilize what we've learned along the way to support you and really play it forward. So yeah, that's why we, get up and do what we do for DivTal, and it really inspires us every day.
That is amazing. And I think thinking of the landscape, I don't think there are that many recruitment agencies that focus on BIPOC talent. So kudos to you guys in actually, focusing on that. And so Lorna, where did the DivTal idea begin? How did it all start?
Yeah, so essentially it started from Bedi and I's personal experience. So we had similar experiences in the sense that we struggled to find work after graduating from uni. I spent a couple of years, and Bedi also spent some time trying to find work that was aligned to our skills and experiences. So we both got our first job within corporate through a diversity program, and that just opened up doors for us to be able to create our own careers. So that was really the kickstart of that, and we know it's not a uncommon experience. A lot of other migrants within our community also have challenges finding work, and that's something my dad experienced, my parents experienced, my uncles and aunties. So we know it's a widespread challenge. And I guess having worked in HR, we started off by doing little things, helping people with their resumes, providing like interview tips and little things around that, but also working in corporate. We also started to understand that organizations care about diversity, want to diversify the workforce and ensure that it represents the community. And so understanding those two elements, we thought, okay, why not create a platform that connects these employers that care about diversity and want to represent the community to candidates that are struggling to find work. So that's really how the idea started. And we know it's still an ongoing issue in 2020. I think with COVID that's happened has probably exacerbated the issue, because we know that BIPOC candidates struggled before 2020, and now having many more people in the job market struggling to find work has created a lot more competition. So it was relevant 4 years ago when we started having these conversations about wanting to do something, and it's very much still relevant now. We think it's going to be a challenge for the next few years. So that's what inspired us to create DivTal.
That's absolutely amazing and very, very inspiring as well. And so with the process of starting a business, what made you then decide to say, okay, I've identified this problem that I've experienced, that other people as well are experiencing who are in the migrant community. What then made you decide to say, okay, let's start a business?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Charmaine. I mean, we started our business right in the midst of COVID. Before that, we were working on our business for, I'd say, 2 years, all the way from actually going to the Incubate hackathon, feeling like we could do it and getting that real empowerment and motivation that we never had before. I'd say, like, Lorna and I looked at each other, we're like, what is this drive that was very much I'd say, a new fire that was lit in Lorna and I when we went to the hackathon that weekend. And then we took advantage of the accelerator that was being presented as an opportunity through Hatch Quarter. And then that's how we were building our idea for a good 2 years. So I would say we validated and stayed in the validation phase of our idea for a very long time. I would say we probably spent a good nearly year validating and revalidating. And then when we were ready to launch, that's when COVID hit. So I guess based on your question on what makes you still launch your idea during a pandemic, and really we went back to the purpose. And the reason we created DivTal was to support people to find opportunities, and people who were marginalized, who were not finding opportunities even before pandemics. And we really decided to just still launch because we had a purpose to why we wanted to launch in the first place. And that purpose was, if anything, even more bigger challenge than before. And we really knew that we were taking a big risk, but we did it for our candidates. And we definitely saw some challenges with that because we realized there wasn't that many opportunities. And that's where we had to pivot because of what was going on. So we spent a lot of our time working with our candidates and really supporting them through job readiness. So we decided, although there weren't that many job opportunities coming, we went, okay, let's work on getting them coaching. So we partnered up with organizations like Glow Up Careers and got them coaches. We did job readiness series on Instagram. We got them mentors and really spent a lot of time working with our candidates to get them ready for when the job market opened up again. So that's a mouthful way of saying you follow your purpose, you take the risk, and you pivot and find a way to still support the people that you started the business to support in the first place.
That's amazing how you sort of pivoted to consider, like, you know, during COVID, obviously now the job market is now more competitive because there are more people looking for jobs. And then you decided to focus on the candidates and, you know, upskill them and make sure that they're ready for when the opportunity comes. And what's been the feedback from your candidates so far?
I think the biggest piece of feedback was it was timely. In terms of launching DivTal in 2020, because that was a time where, as mentioned before, there was so much competition, and that's when these people needed hands-on support. And I think having tailored support from people that understand, you know, the BIPOC experience. So we've had lived experience. We know what it's like to be rejected and not get a job, or get your application not accepted because of your name and things like that. So I think our candidates absolutely identified with us and probably trusted us more than they trust a lot of other places, because we could talk about our experiences and provide that hands-on, first-hand advice around what we would do in certain situations. So the feedback's been positive. Obviously, not having as many opportunities in the market has probably been the biggest challenge, but we've seen that turn early in the year where a lot of businesses have started to recruit again, and there's more roles that we can now happily offer our candidates. Yeah.
That's good to hear, especially the whole context of having the lived experience and being able to resonate with your candidates, which are essentially your customers, you know, in that regard. I'm really interested to know more about, you know, the launching a business, starting a business. You know, what's been the biggest learning and challenges that you've experienced to date?
Yeah. Do you want me to take that one, or do you want to take it?
Yeah, you can take it. You're already talking. I guess this is how we kind of plan.
Okay.
Being
Yeah, well, I think as anyone would tell you, starting a business, it's a challenge. And I think it's our first business. So we had no experience prior to that. DivTal is not something that, you know, for our entire lives we thought that we create something like this. It's kind of just happened, and we were fortunate enough, as Bedi mentioned, to go to that hackathon and get support through the Hatch Quarter Business Accelerator as well, where we were provided just some guidance around how to start, because it can be quite difficult to know even where to begin. There's a lot of things you can Google out there, but there's no rule book around, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, step 3. And it's challenging. There's times, you know, we both worked or still work full time. So DivTal has been something that we do on the side. So the time factor of knowing that we can't dedicate as much time as we would want to, if we could, has also been another challenge. But as Bedi said, we know that by doing something like this, the impact that it can potentially have on people by providing them opportunities that are meaningful, just job opportunities that are meaningful, aligned to their skills, and could potentially create and open many more doors for them. Like, that's exciting to us, and that's why we do work those later evenings and weekends just to put this in place. So yeah, it's definitely just, I guess I would just reiterate, starting a business that's challenging, but it can be quite fun. You've got to find the right people. If you find people that believe in what you believe and are committed and dedicated, then it's equally a very rewarding experience.
That's absolutely amazing. And in terms of some of the key learnings, what are the learnings that you would pass on to other people who are considering starting a business?
Yeah, I think the first learning we had is that you need to continue validating your idea even after launching. And really thinking about what problem you're trying to solve. I know it goes back to the basics, and you're probably like, okay, I already know what I'm trying to solve. But once you look at it a billion times, and you think you got it, you should still go back to the customer. You should create focus groups. And once you think you have an idea, make sure that you're not running for trying to get the money or investment. Try and create an MVP that's really simple. So I think just go back to the basics and look at how can you create or try and create what problem you're trying to solve or the solution through a very simple MVP that then you can show traction in, and then you move on to the next aspect. It's not easy to get any investment, and we're still going through that hurdle and challenges and trying to find the right networks as Black women. The statistics do say that women aren't getting the investment for businesses, but then if you add another layer to being not just women, but also being Black women, that is still a barrier that we're working through right now. So I definitely also say that try and build your networks. You can't do it on your own. So that's another very big piece of advice. You need to build your networks, and what you'll find is you'll be going back to networks that you didn't even know you ever essentially would go back to. So even anyone that you work with, they're all going to be your networks in the future. So definitely your networks are your net worth. That is a huge part of building a business, and you cannot do it on your own. So validate, simplify, and yeah, definitely use your networks. They're the main three things I would say.
And I cannot agree more in terms of, constantly validating your idea, because sometimes you think you've got it all right, and then you go to market and maybe the market isn't feeling your idea. So then now you have to go back and, reconfirm, is it still relevant? Does this still work? And so, yeah, absolutely important, for that validation.
And be kind to yourself. Sorry, I mean, it's not an easy journey. You'll definitely just constantly make mistakes, but that is part of the entrepreneurship life, that you got to be kind to yourself, be ready to pivot, be agile, and don't fall in love with your idea. Because if you do, you'd be very upset all the time. So don't fall in love with your first, second, third, or even 100th idea. Fall in love with the reason that you decided to put the idea together in the first place. And then that will get you where you need to go.
I love that. Don't fall in love with the idea, but the purpose of the idea, because I guess that's what will be your underlying driver for whatever it is that you want to achieve. Really, really good insights in there. And you've also been involved in the startup space, the startup ecosystem. How has been your experience, as Black female founders, as you enter these spaces in the startup ecosystem in Australia?
Yeah, the startup space, it's quite small. You start to go to different events, and you start to see the same people all around. But I think we're lucky in the Australian startup community. People generally want to help you. So our experience has been any time we've reached out to people, everyone's willing to give you time and share advice. And so that's been really refreshing to hear that. And I think in terms of resources that you're able to tap into within Australian startup economy, it's very much there. So, but again, I think being first-time business owners and being new to the space, it was again, as with anything, very challenging to navigate around and know who's who and understand what was out there initially. But it's been exciting. It's been something that we wanted to do for a very long time, but very, very positive experience so far.
That is so good. I think with the startup ecosystem as well, I've identified, yes, there's so many opportunities that are out there. But as you said, you start seeing the same people all over, and people have been very generous as well and very kind. Because even when we do our hackathon, our mentors are happy and willing to sort of provide their insights, to provide support, and to, to sort of help. So, at the stage that you're at now, have you got business mentors or mentors that you have that you sort of go back to sort of help with the business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we go back to our original mentor, so which we still have with us right now. So Eamon, who took us through the whole 2 years and continues to support us right now, is probably one of our biggest mentors. And he's doing some great things with Hatch Quarter and creating completely new programs that are now global with his MENA Bridge program. So he has so many insights that he gives us. I mean, the way I see it, that I would love to see more Black women, and I would love us to actually create a space where we can talk about being business owners, because we've got to remember that journeys and trajectory is very different. So I would love to either be a mentor or get a mentor that is also a Black woman. So if there's anybody out there, do let me know. Let's create our own space as well.
I absolutely agree. Safe spaces where we can sort of explore and share knowledge are actually so important. And also one of the reasons why we're doing this Business Unusual series, so that you can share tips and your entrepreneurial journey in terms of, what you experienced, what you learned, what are some of the challenges that you encountered. And because sometimes you think you're all alone, but then you then realize, someone else is actually doing, something similar, and they're facing a similar challenge. How about we work together and then we can find a solution for the common challenge that we have? So yeah, absolutely love that. Indeed. And so just a reminder to our audience, you can actually post your questions that you may want to pose to Bedi and Lorna in the Q&A box, or even in the chat. So if you have any particular questions, now is the time. I will open up the floor for questions in the next 5 minutes. So feel free to put through your queries and questions in there. So in terms of, if there's a young person out there who isn't sure about how they want to start their business, or don't know where to go, what would be your advice to that young person?
I'd say start off by just really thinking about why it is you're wanting to start a business. Is it because you want to solve a problem? Is there a specific issue you're trying to look at and resolve? So having that clear, back to purpose, like what is your purpose? Why do you want to start a business? What are you trying to solve? I think starting there, and I think if you have a strong enough purpose, you very easily attract people that believe in the same purpose, and that's how you next find your team. So it's about finding other people that believe in what you want to do, getting them involved somehow to support you and help you, whether it's through mentoring, whether it's through just networks or any volunteering. So I think that's absolutely critical. And then there's so many startup communities that kind of you've mentioned before that you can go out and do a hackathon. We did a hackathon. It's a chance to validate your idea and get some really good feedback, and really from experts in the field that have done it before, and that can help you get a sense of if your idea is viable and feasible. There's business accelerators out there. We went through Hatch Quarter that can help you actually create your idea into a real business. So I think the support's out there, but ultimately just be 100% clear on what it is you want to do and why, because that's what's going to drive you. It's not easy to start a business, but I think very rewarding and something that everyone should aspire to wanting to do if they've got you know, that bigger purpose and want to do something out there.
Excellent, thank you. We actually have a question from the audience, and I think it's a very good question. The question is, do you think pre-accelerators and accelerators are essential to starting a business? Do you have to go through that process, or can you just wake up and decide that, you know, I'm going to start a business and then just get it done? Because I mean, there are tools out there now. You know, you can open a Shopify account straight away. You know, you can do so many things. I mean, you can even start an Instagram shop too. So, you know, are those processes of going through a pre-accelerator and accelerator important for starting a business?
The way I think Betty's frozen, the way I would describe it. So absolutely, you can start a business today. You can literally go out, as you said, create an Instagram, put up, create a website and do that and be launched right now. I think the difference of a pre-accelerator or an accelerator and what that offers is just guidance. So at every single step of you know, choosing your website and creating a marketing strategy or identifying your problem or solution, what an accelerator does, it supports you through those steps and gives you advice. So these are generally experts that have done it before, and exactly as the name suggests, it helps you make less mistakes, probably because you are getting that hands-on advice and be able to possibly get traction quicker, launch your product quicker, create your MVP quicker. So I think that's the only difference. So to answer the question, yes, anyone can start a business. It's not required to do a pre-accelerator or accelerator, but it would be, just know that if you do one, it just fast tracks your ability to move quickly in your business.
Excellent. Well, another interesting question that's come through. What advice do you wish you had when you started DivTal?
Yeah, really good question. I think with Betty's back, you're kind of frozen for me. I don't know if that was just me, but did you want to take that one?
I think I was frozen. What was the question? Sorry, I was just turning my video on and off.
So the question is, what advice do you wish you had when you started DivTal?
I think if we would have been told that if you start off with a very, very simple, minimal viable product and take it to market and validate that, that would suffice as kind of your first business. You don't always have to have something that's like essentially the hottest new thing in the market or the most technologically advanced that cost I don't know, over $50,000 or that first investment. It is all about really validating your product. And if somebody would have told me that, hey Betty, you know what you have here is enough and you can go to market with that, I think that would have really helped us probably maybe go to market earlier and start validating a lot earlier than we did. Again, advice that we got later on and through the accelerator as well, going back to Lorna's point about the importance of just having that additional support, so you know what are the mistakes that cost you a lot and what are the ones that you could probably go in and you can go back and fix quite quickly without losing a lot in the process. Was there anything you wanted to add, Lorna? What do you wish, anything else you wish somebody would have told us?
I think for me, just the journey. I think in your mind, everyone probably has a bit of an idea around what the entrepreneurial journey looks like. It's like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, but like we've reiterated DivTal so many times, I can't even count the amount of times our initial idea to what it is today. And mind you, we've only just changed it in the past couple of weeks. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. And so I think being agile and being quite flexible and open, and to what Betty was kind of saying in the start of this conversation around not being stuck on one idea and thinking that's going to be it forever. Like we've had to change. We've had COVID happen. That's impacted the entire recruitment industry and businesses stopped recruiting. So we had to change and think about what we could do differently. So yes, I guess advice around just continuing to be open and flexible around what could happen, because literally anything can happen.
Yeah, agility is very, very important, you know, in business, because again, market is constantly shifting and changing, and you almost have to, you know, move with the trends and move with the times, and, you know, understand what your customer and the market needs as well. And Bedi actually came up with you brought up a very important point, which is investment. So in terms of actual investments, like, did you have to save up cash for you to start up DivTal, or did you end up getting sponsorship or grant funds? How did that process work for you to sort of start that capital, that initial capital that's required?
Yeah, so Lorna and I did essentially invest our own money into kickstarting the business. And it was essentially because we really both believed in it, and it was something that we both decided to do. And essentially, we're now working on making sure that we're getting revenue generated model, and making sure that we're now getting customers coming through and clients. So it is very much about what you both, well, for us, it was both of us, but even individually, what you agree on when it comes to what you want to do. Are you willing to put a bit of money and see that maybe go a long way later on? Or are you willing to risk it, maybe not it coming back? It depends essentially what your current situation is. But obviously at the same time, we've looked at grants. We've definitely applied for quite a few grants and are constantly always looking for VC investments, and really always have a kind of hat and ring out, looking around what could be kind of the next investment or funding that we could get to just obviously pivot what we have and create more opportunities and make DivTal bigger and better. But for now, we're just kind of working on a stronger revenue generating model, and trying to continue to support our candidates.
And I think just to add to what Bedi said, because quite early on, you know, we were both still working full time, and we decided to create DivTal, but it had to be a solution that wasn't expensive. So we looked about, well, how can we create this thing that was essentially the cheapest option that we could find. So being bootstrapped also has its advantages, because we have 100% control and ownership around what we do. I think once we get to the point around investment, and I think it's something for people to be aware about, when you are getting investment externally, it could mean that you're giving up equity in your business. It could mean that you are potentially giving up directorship, or allowing an external party to have influence in how you run your business. So those are some things that you have in mind. But at the same time, getting external investment can mean that you can scale very quickly. Because we know having technology in place, things change very quickly. Technology is very expensive, especially if you want something that's, you know, AI and the most up-to-date. So it's just understanding the pros and cons of bootstrapping versus taking external investment.
Very, very interesting insights there. And coming segue through to that as well, you talked about how you have worked on the DivTal idea for 2 years before launching. And I think this next question is actually an excellent question to sort of have an understanding of your mindset. So the question is, what are some self-care methods you use to keep motivated when things go wrong?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Go for it.
So I think Lorna and I, being that this, you know, the both of us who are both invested in DivTal, I think we really look to each other, and that's a really big part of. I know my driver. I hope it is for Lorna too. But essentially, you know, sometimes when I'm exhausted and I'm like, oh, you know, this is such a challenging time. Should we just give up now? You know, I definitely look to Lorna, and we talk it out, and we go back to our purpose, and that really helps me. I also, you know, take up random things like modeling to keep me just fun and young and hip and, you know, just doing something completely different from what I do on a day-to-day basis. And we both also have our 9-to-5 jobs that also mean we step out of what we do with DivTal. And obviously there's the, you know, the usual, I don't know if everybody does this, but, you know, I go for my walks, I dance to Afrobeats music in my room. And yeah, I mean, you know, make sure I take care of myself all the time. So I definitely go out, spend time with family, and really, you know, make sure the weekends are for me, and, you know, try not to work weekends. And I think I do quite well in that, where I don't find myself working on weekends on either DivTal or anything else, except if I'm like doing like a modeling shoot, which is most of the time fun. But yeah, so that's, I definitely try to mix things up a lot, so I'm not just feeling like this is my only purpose in life. So yeah.
That is really good that, you know, you have been able to put through some, you know, different tools and coping mechanisms as you know, as you work through your business. I mean, I can only imagine, like, you have a 9-to-5 job, and then you also have to manage your business. And so, you know, a lot of demand, time is demanded of you. So making sure you're in that right headspace is very, very important. Well,
you have to switch off, people. Learn how to switch off. It's very hard, yes, but yeah.
Important.
Agreed. Well, how is it like, you know, running a business with having your friend, you know, your best friend as a business partner?
Yeah, well, as you can see, Bedi is a ball of fun, a ball of energy. So there's, like, for me, there's never a dull moment in our meetings, and it helps to work with someone that you actually enjoy their company and spending time with. So it's been a real blessing. We're very, very lucky in that sense. And I think as co-founders, you have to be on the same page, and you have to be aligned most of the time. Or if you don't agree on something, just have a process of being able to, yeah, agree. And I think we've naturally have had that from day one, which I think is probably quite rare, but very fortunate. And that's why we've been able to kind of stick around to where we're at now, because we've had those underlying characteristics around alignment. We were clear in what we want to do, and yeah, we just have fun, because it can be tough. This entrepreneurial journey, it's challenging. There's hard times, there's good times. It's literally a roller coaster. So to have someone that can just enjoy the journey with you, like, it's critical.
Also, Lorna and I are complete opposites, and that helps a lot. So we're like yin and yang. So everything that are my key strengths, essentially, Lorna is like, yeah, take that on. And then everything that's her key strengths, I allow her to definitely take the lead on that. So we very much know how we contribute into our business relationship. And I think that's really important, understanding each other's strengths, and just working with each other, always being ready to kind of step in where required. And I think we just have that type of relationship, and it just works so well. So yeah.
Really that's good. So good that, you know, you gel well and complement each other, you know, within the business. So this is really, really amazing. Good to hear. We have actually another question from the audience. So where have you found the opportunities to network as women of color?
Yeah,
have you found places to opportunities to network at all?
I mean, Incubate is quite an obvious, probably the main one. And I mean, it was the place we first found our love for entrepreneurship. And essentially, you know, we've continued that relationship with Incubate, and we definitely see it as a place where it all started. So we continue going back there to inspire, continue to network. But I think as, you know, women of color, it isn't that easy to find a place that it's just full of business women. It doesn't mean that it's not out there, or it hasn't been created yet, the space, but I know there's a lot of really great business women doing a lot of amazing things. I think it may be about, you know, how do we connect more? I know we are quite involved with quite a few networks like the Women of Color networks, and then we're also involved with our culturally diverse women platform as well, where there's quite a few women in corporate. But I don't know about you, Lorna. Have you been able to connect with any specific women of color business
I think
networks?
Yeah, you've called them out. So it's really the culturally diverse women. They're called CDW for anyone that hasn't come across them, as well as I believe they're just called Women of Color. So if you search it up online, you'll definitely be able to find. So essentially what you're saying, they create spaces for people that are running businesses or work in corporate, to have conversations and talk about, the challenges and experiences that they're facing. But also, we've also tried to expand our networks and also connect in with other startup communities. So there's StartMate, there's Blackbird, there's all these amazing startup communities around Australia that I think it's equally as important to get involved in. I think having a Women of Color network provides you that safe space to have open conversations, but you can equally learn more from other people that aren't women of color and hear about their experiences and be able to take learnings and learn from them as well. So I would encourage you to expand and to as many networks, because you can learn many different things.
Amazing,
Definitely.
amazing. And yes, there are actually quite a fair few networks that are available. I think it's just more so the visibility, where they may not be as visible to everyone, and almost like you need to know someone to know someone for you to know that these places actually exist. So
yeah, well, now you know someone, and it's Lorna and I, so
exactly. And I think it'll be worthwhile actually coming up with like a directory list of all the spaces that are available for entrepreneurs. So we'll definitely take that to note as well. This is a good segue in terms of our conversation. Another question we got is, well, what does success look like for DivTal?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, Lorna and I always say this, that we don't want to exist in the future because we're not needed, because, organizations have become more inclusive. They understand the challenges, the barriers, and have worked really hard to really get rid of a lot of biases within the recruitment process, and have worked equally as hard to look within their own workplaces and look at how to make sure they have more inclusive practices. But we are very, very long way from that. So I think for now, the future in the next year or two looks for DivTal is about creating more opportunities for Black, Indigenous people of color, connecting with more organizations and working with them to really understand the D&I journeys and how we can support them create those inclusive workplaces, and making sure we're talking about things like progression, retention, because it's not just about getting diverse talent through the door. It's about being able to develop them, engage them, and really start seeing them in leadership positions. And that's where you start to see real impact and real change. So right now we have consulting services. We're now working with inclusive employers who do want to connect with BIPOC talent through our job board, but also we have questions about what are you doing? How do we make sure that when our BIPOC talent starts working with you, that you do have the right environment, the right place for them to thrive? So there's so much work to be done in both spaces. And I think, Australia, I would say, is a good, 10 years behind places like the UK, who are doing some really great work. So we're learning a lot from, other countries who have have had a few years of, migrants coming through. So we're learning a lot from them, and it's great to have Lorna in London, and I've spent some time in London, and we're just constantly learning and trying to support where we can and just grow DivTal. So yeah, there's so much work to be done, but we really don't want to exist.
That is a very interesting take in success. So success for you basically is when you are out of a business, when you are not needed. Very, very intriguing. And I also love how you're focusing not just on the recruitment process, but also, the retention and the progression, because I think that's where a lot of the talent is lost, is when, you know, people say, yay, I got a job, but then when they go into the environment, it's not as welcoming. You know,
Yeah.
they get ostracized, or they have a very negative experience and end up leaving that organization. So kudos to you guys in actually, you know, focusing on that as well, because that's also a key component of the recruitment process. So in terms of, you know, us supporting you, the wider community supporting you, how can we support you? What does support look like if someone wants to be, you know, supporting DivTal?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is just share it with friends. If you've got friends that are Black, Indigenous, or identify as a person of color, and they're looking for new job opportunities, send them our way. That's why we exist. That's what we want to do. It's just help as many people as possible find their dream roles, as well as organizations. Like if you are working for an organization and you look around and it's not diverse, have a conversation with your manager or your teams around, okay, what are we doing about it? How can we help diversify this place? So yeah, the best you can do is just spread the word. Like we are genuinely so excited and so passionate about creating a more inclusive future of work, and we will go to all costs and do what we need to do to make that happen. So we invite everyone to join us, whether it's spreading the word, whether it's going to our website and looking at resources. Like, yeah, that would be the support that we would love from everyone.
Excellent, amazing. Well, any final thoughts and you know, inspiration for our audience?
Yeah, I think a final thought for me is essentially that it's a very exciting time for DivTal. We just celebrated 1 year. We are completely getting a new look and feel and relaunching our website. So we are really excited to hopefully present a lot more webinars to allow you to connect to some of these organizations. We're having some really great conversations around putting the actual onus back on them and saying, well, you know, you're talking about wanting to be diverse. You need to connect with Black, Indigenous, people of color. How are you doing that? So they will be hopefully running a lot more webinars with us, like Meet the Recruiters, and really breaking a lot of those barriers and allowing a lot of insight into how you make sure that you're actually presenting yourself in a way that you're able to actually get the job in the organization you've always dreamed in working in. So it's very exciting times. We want to hear from you. So let us know if there's anything more we can be doing. And yeah, we're always here. Send us a LinkedIn message, an Instagram message. But yeah, we wish you the best of luck. If you are looking to start a business, it starts with you first. So definitely step back, reflect, thinking about who you are, how you want to represent yourself, and then essentially start looking at what your passion is. And we have so much. I mean, as Black people who are migrated in Australia, there's so much to create. Just look at London. That's what I have to say. They've created something for everything. So if you want ideas of how to create spaces as a person of color, a Black person, somebody who's a new migrant here, don't ever feel like you'll always just kind of just be there, not be able to leave an impact. If anything, Australia is so exciting because the ecosystem it's such an exciting place. The ecosystem is not saturated, and there's so many opportunities to create any gaps that you see. So definitely encourage you to really start thinking about what impact you can have, and yeah, just find your passion, find your purpose, and we're excited to see all the new exciting businesses that are coming our way. So yeah, very, very exciting times.
Thank you so much, Bedi. And Lorna, any final words?
I just gonna really reiterate what Bedi said. I think it's an exciting time. Like we are, as we've said, 2020 has changed the world in how we operate. It's created so many more opportunities, and if anything, it's helped us realize if you have dreams, if you have goals, if there's things that you want to achieve, you just have to go for them. Because you never know what the world's going to present. We could have another pandemic next year. We actually don't know. Let's hope not. But yeah, like I think the world is your oyster. Incubate Foundation is amazing to get in contact with if you're wanting to start a business. So again, we would personally vouch for you. So yeah.
Excellent.
So much to do. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And we're extremely proud of your achievements to date. Again, happy first anniversary for your business. We wish you nothing more but success. We'll continue to support you and advocate for you, and talk about DivTal in different spaces and environments that we're in, because it's a very necessary service. It's a very necessary product that is needed, for us to have a diverse workforce here in Australia. Besides, I mean, we all preach that Australia is a multicultural community. Well, now we need to put, money where our mouth is. So kudos to organizations like you that we ensure that our workforce continues to be a diverse and diverse talent that continues to support the Australian economy. Thank you so much, ladies, for your time this evening. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to share some of your learnings and insights. Very important, pivotal for us to be telling our stories and to be sharing our experiences as well, because you never know, maybe the next DivTal is, watching or listening here and getting inspiration. And that's exactly what we want. We want more DivTals out there. We want more people participating, in the business enterprise, because not only will you be creating jobs for yourself, you're creating jobs for the wider community, as well as your own generational wealth as well. So kudos to you, ladies. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us, Charmaine, and keep up the great work at Incubate.
Thank you, everyone. This takes us to the end of our first session. Tune in next week, same time, same place, 6:30 p.m. as we interview another Black business entrepreneur sharing their insights and their journey. So stay tuned on our socials. We'll let you know who our next speaker is. And looking forward to see you next week. Have yourself a good evening. See ya.
See ya.